have initiative forms that you can submit through that process, Erica?
I think,
I think we just have to, to your point, we have to make it clear that we're not requiring it of the bid. We're asking, we're inviting,
Right.
because we are two separate entities.
yeah,
So
I'm gonna put that on the April bid agenda to talk about
When is your April meeting?
the 18th.
Paul's the liaison, trustee Zovic, so.
They have all of the information, they have the same information that you were provided in all the forms that were in the packet. So, Erica, if you have questions on that, you're welcome, whatever that is. Whatever the bid feels.
I didn't realize I was doing it for 2017 from that email. I was just gonna say, oh, at the end of 2018, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna get that done. So I'm glad I'm here.
It's been very productive.
Very good. All right. Thank you for that update.
And I guess I'll just,
Yeah.
I would just say, Erica, just because, yeah, in my experience over the past probably 3 years, the concept of those small vendor stalls, within one shared space and all that stuff, it's come up over and over again as a, informally, never before. And so I think there is, we know we want to be adaptive to the new economy and new retail landscape and all that. And so I think if we need to put some resources into exploring how that would actually work, and if it would work number-wise and tenant-wise, because it is a lot for a landlord to take on 4 different, tenants and managing all that, and short-term leases versus long-term leases. There is a market issue around that. So I would say, whether it's the bid or the CDA, I think it's worth getting some more information about how that would actually work, and if it is happening somewhere, how is that structured, and are we capable of it?
Is that the bid doing that, or?
I don't know,
I don't know
so
either.
I'm kind of putting it out there, maybe
It
through
would be
staff.
interesting to understand what happened in Mequon. Like they have ready space available for this. Because I look at this as what's out there within Shorewood that could possibly.
Well, and then who are the stakeholders? From the
Yeah.
outside, there are people who say there's lots of space, this would be a perfect space for this, but I don't know if the landlord feels that way.
Right,
or
but
if-
you'd have,
how
yeah,
you
someone's
empower
gonna wanna
them.
do it. That's why I'm wondering like how it came about in Mequon. If we could get a little background on that.
I can do that.
Or
Yeah.
better yet, the downtown, the historic third ward market was in the comprehensive plan of the city, and it was a city initiative, so it was the municipality, and then they worked with, I believe it was the bid, for operations, so you might want to look at that one too,
The
because
public market.
it's documented really well.
The
There was a lot of fundraising around
There
that
was a
too
lot
at
of
the time, right?
yeah.
Private fundraising, like,
Right, and I know the city put in money
yeah,
for TIF, so I'm just saying though, that it's documented if you.
okay.
Because I know Arthur from Farmers Market, I mean, you've all heard the vendors that are doing so great, that they would love some of them would love the opportunity to be present year-round. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have space.
I would just put it out there for some.
It'd be interesting to study at the very least,
We'll see if we want to put it on the priority list.
Exactly, it would be a priority.
I have a question. I don't see future agenda items, and I know we just threw out an idea there. I had one, I don't know if I should just tell Erica afterwards, or where would I?
So, I think this is a very good question. We're no longer going to have future agenda items listed on agendas, because not only do I find it to be not statutorily compliant, it's not productive for the group, because we shout out ideas, and there's no levels of agreement or expectations surrounding them.
And staff, whether to work.
Correct. So moving forward, and this is, I will resend this to you and the information from the initiatives. Once a year, we're going to set our priorities right now. So in this process for the annual visioning thing, there is an initiative sheet. I'm going to be providing you the opportunity to submit initiatives if you don't see them on a list that you've already, I hear about these lists, right? They're like, and Peter helped me a little bit because lists stress me out. There's no priority to them, there's no, no one's done anything with them. And so we're gonna call it the parking,
They're parking lot.
a parking lot. We have a number of parking lot items for the CDA. If you want to add an item to the parking lot to be considered for prioritization, I will be sending you out a form of which you can submit to get it on there.
I will take responsibility for all.
Okay, so if you don't see it on there, fill out a sheet, submit it back. I'm gonna give you some timelines to do this within the next month. And then it's gonna go on to, and it's gonna go into the parking lot, and then you are gonna be prioritizing from the parking lot. Thank you so much for bringing the parking lot.
But two questions about that. Anytime I've seen that process work, which I think is a fabulous process, I'm very excited to be following it, and I think it's absolutely what we need for all of our committees and our village board. But there are also, during the year, there will be some issues that you want to talk about that aren't on, like that you want to ask about. Like, for instance, this one might be a bid initiative, but I don't know where to talk about it. So I guess I can talk about it after the meeting, but if we wanted to talk about it in public, there's nowhere to talk about it,
So,
or to ask.
so to this point, we're gonna be taking the initiatives form and developing it also, this is coming soon to the village board near you. A form that if you do want to discuss something, that should be submitted in advance. And that the board should consider whether we should be discussing it or not. Before it's actually, before we have, so the board actually comes to some level of agreement of, is this something that we should be taking up right now or not? So it would be on, each member would have opportunities to submit those, but the
During the
board.
year?
Correct.
Okay.
But the board would make a decision as to whether we're even going to discuss it.
The board meeting, so we submit this piece of paper and then it'll be on the agenda
Correct.
to discuss, to say if we want to discuss it.
It will,
Agenda.
to consider whether or not it should be listed in the future for discussion.
Or address, send staff to.
Correct. Because many of these items require resources.
Oh, of course.
And so it's so challenging, at the end of, and I will speak for myself. Number one, under state statute, the public needs to be provided with a reasonable expectation of what we will be discussing. So for trustees or CDA members to come up and all of a sudden start shouting out ideas does not provide that reasonable expectation to the public. And much less it's getting done at the very end of a very long night, many times, and I'll speak from the board's perspective. So,
But this conversation that just went on about the market, that isn't really agendized, right?
Right, I took a note and it's my responsibility to fill out an initiative form that then will go into this process.
Correct.
That's my interpretation.
And that's why I've been trying to keep our end of meeting discussion specific to whatever's agenda, and then are there specific action items we're looking at. I get their discussion is helpful to be apprised, but I agree that's kind of our challenge as we get into this. And we go down a path and all of a sudden we're someplace we probably shouldn't be. So that'll be, so is it, just to make sure I understand, so we have the annual process,
Yep.
which is clear. Then on the ad hoc questions that will certainly come up.
for routine agendas, for monthly
Yeah,
agendas.
yeah, in the middle of the year, something has come up. So that will be provided, and then is it up to then we will talk and determine if it
That's the
goes
next
on.
process I'm gonna be working
Yeah.
on with the board,
I
is
think that's,
how
yeah.
that's
How does
going
it
to
then
happen.
flow to?
And those items that come up during the year should be evaluated against your priorities for
Right.
the year.
Exactly.
And people should have time to,
Correct.
yeah, prep.
It's very, I put myself in your position, and I think it's very challenging to hear an idea during a meeting without having given some thought to it. There's no context, what goal is it trying to meet? It requires everyone to think through their process a bit more before engaging in that discussion, including me, because I don't understand what's necessarily being asked of me. I don't necessarily know what's being asked of the staff. I don't necessarily know how it's correlating to something that we're doing. So having that information in advance, these are all, these ideas are great. You guys have phenomenal ideas. But we need to do a little bit more homework before we bring those to a group so we can be most productive when we're in here.
I agree, you just need more structure to the whole process. When do you think you're going to get back in terms of the process?
Well, for the initiative parts for the vision planning,
Yeah.
you'll have something at the very beginning of next week. So we'll be starting to add to the parking lot,
Okay.
the CDA parking lot.
We submit them, we submit our sheets.
Right. For meetings moving forward, because here again, we have difference between the board and the CDA, they're two different entities. So my intention is to work with the village board first on that process, and then after that, come and work with Peter on that process.
Okay.
Because the CDA is statutorily a different group, so you could
But we
choose.
want to be consistent with what the board.
I would presume that Peter would have a desire to be consistent,
Preference.
you know? So,
You could have a chair that said, no, we're gonna do our.
Correct, I
own
could.
thing," And then we'd have
You know,
to agree.
from my prior discussions with Peter, I think is comfortable with the fact that I would work with the village board at first, and then he would maybe take that lead.
Great.
So, and
As
I'm
long
not
as the
trying to
village
process
board-
it all to death, I just,
No, I think it's helpful.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
As long as we have a, something that we can, if an agenda item, someone wants to suggest an agenda item, then there's a process for that, because things do come up.
We have had a lot of really good ideas come out of the end of
Yeah.
the meeting, and Alice was, they sit and don't, they kind of get lost, and that's too bad. There needs to be a process to track and decide, prioritize, and be more formal, a little more formalized about it. Hold
Right.
ourselves accountable
Right.
to those things.
While we're doing that process, I just want to make sure that, I feel like we've lost connection with the bid a little bit as the time has gone on, and I know Erica has, just coming on, and she's great, she has great ideas. And so if we have questions for the bid, like the interactions, will we just do it during the bid report?
are you on the bid board?
I am on the bid board.
Okay, so
But you're
this,
saying
wouldn't that be
CDA.
discussions that
I
you had at the bid board?
No, just, we've always had the CDA and the bid have been, am I speaking the right way here, but they've been really intertwined. Jim used to come to, the former bid director.
There are consistent goals of the two.
Yeah, it was very, almost, so there was a lot of coordination when we did developer recruitment, or we did all the initiatives that we did really involved the bid. And Jim would come and there would be like back and forth, a little bit discussion at the end of the meeting, and I don't know, I think this is what this is. I'm just saying if we had a question for the bid, I am a bid member, yes. I'm just saying that the two entities coordinating, I might not be a bid member next month, next year.
Is your question whether we can ask questions when?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. That's like part of the, right? The charter, she's giving a report, and there might be a question, like I asked a question on something.
A question on the bid report.
Yeah, that would be.
I think if you have new things that you're looking to explore outside of this agenda, then
Okay.
you should speak directly to the bid.
Unless they're CDA related or a partnership.
But then I think you're also talking about a new idea or concept that you want to be explored, and then you can put some structure to that. So that when we come into the meeting, everyone has a clear identification of what we're being asked to discuss or consider. And at the same time, I think that it's also important that the bid weigh in terms of, what they're looking, it's a two-way relationship, right? So,
So I would say,
Wait,
Under the initiative subject, I'm just curious, is the CDA going to refer to the Central District Master Plan during this process? Because, Shorewood always says we don't shelve our plans, and it just sounds like it's been shelved for too long.
yeah, we got forwarded that plan to revisit
yep.
preparation for the.
Because that's another way that the bid would have a voice, is through implementation of that plan.
and a lot of good work was done.
And just to plant a seed, it sounds like if a public market would be in the interests of the village, that would best be served under a redevelopment, or come to fruition through that.
And I think that speaks to Allison's point, which is we would need to know if the bid is interested in pursuing that collaboration.
Which would be through her Smithle.
But it would also take coordination with the board.
Oh, yeah.
She's just one person administering the bid's intentions. There's a whole bid board that should be weighing in on whether this is the direction that they want to take. I guess I'm always cognizant of that because, you as a group set the priorities.
Right.
There's not one person who kind of comes forward with it.
It's almost like there's anytime we discuss something, there are many more people in this room that it affects, than
Right.
in this room that would weigh in on that to make it a really thoughtful, intentional discussion. So it is hard to know what to do with those questions. But, from my perspective, I don't see any decline in that level of coordination, or, I think we've just been on hold getting some housekeeping and structure set up.
But if focusing on your relationship with the bid and collaborating with them on a project is an initiative, you
Right.
should submit an initiative sheet for it,
Mhm.
because it takes time and effort.
Mhm.
So
And
it's a good
clarity.
discussion,
Okay.
I think this was all part of, this goes back to the vision.
Understanding, yeah. how
The
it's-
I think this was good,
It'll take some time.
yes.
And I would say, probably just as an aside, obviously through the course of our work, if there's time-sensitive issues that come up mid-year, they would be presented to us
Correct.
Yeah.
to, we're not gonna say, well, no, we
Sorry.
already got our thing,
Right.
so we're not gonna
We don't have
address
a
that.
forum
We're still gonna
tomorrow.
do our job in responding from staff coming forward with time-sensitive decision-making.
But it requires group decisions on
Exactly.
what those expectations are,
And what
and we
time.
don't have that right now.
Exactly, what,
And time for people to prepare for the discussion, and
exactly.
I think that's, good.